Hi, I'm Cindy Sheehan. Welcome back to Cindy Sheehan Soapbox. My next guest today is Iraq War resistor Matthis Chiroux. Matthis,
Hi,
welcome
Cindy.
to Cindy Sheehan Soapbox.
Thanks for having me on, Cindy.
Oh, no problem. Matthis is joining us on Martha's Vineyard to protest the wars of occupation that Obama is continuing. Matthis was a war resistor for the Iraq War, and I want Matthis to talk a little bit about that, and then we'll talk about why you came to the Vineyard. So tell us about your process of coming to the decision that you weren't going to be deployed to Iraq, and then what happened.
Sure, Cindy. Well, I was an Army journalist for 5 years. I was actually discharged from active duty. I moved to Brooklyn, New York, where about 7 months later I received call-up orders to deploy to Iraq. Initially, I was planning to go because I thought it was my job as a soldier to follow orders, even if I had been against these wars since the beginning. I was watching you in Camp Casey way back when I was in uniform and praying that that was going to be it.
Yeah.
But I got out, and initially I was going to go because...
Was this on the stop loss? Or was it the individual ready reserve, sort of?
It was I was in the individual ready reserve. It was forced reactivation.
Okay.
What ended up happening is I actually called the military and I said, well, I'm going to come, but I'm in school right now. Can you postpone it till summer? They said, sure. Fortunately, between that time and summer, I was exposed to the Winter Soldier testimonies in Washington, D.C. And exactly, and suddenly it dawned on me that this war is going to continue until we, the soldiers, demand that it stop. And furthermore, that if I do hold the belief that these are illegal wars of aggression and occupation, that not only is it my right to say no, it's my responsibility.
Right, exactly.
So I stood up actually in Congress after Winter Soldier on the Hill. 9 of our members testified, and I stood up and I said, my name's Sergeant Chiroux, and I'm not going to Iraq, and I'm not going to Canada, and I'm not going into hiding. If the Army has a problem with me, they can come find me in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So I spent about a month and a half in Congress actually speaking to members of the Democratic Party because I still had a lot of faith that they wanted to do the right thing. And actually 13 of them signed a letter of support for me, including John Conyers Jr. And the Army still decided to charge me with misconduct anyway. They tried to send me a discharge through the mail, and I said absolutely not, I demand a hearing. And so I demanded a hearing, and I went and I sat before a board of officers, made my arguments, was surprised not to be persecuted, and actually given a discharge under honorable conditions.
Wow.
So we are hoping and praying that this becomes a precedent for other war resistors who, like me, understand it to be their responsibility, not just their right to resist.
Well, good for you, Matthis. My son was against the war. He was against George Bush, but he went because he felt it was his duty. And he was only on post 5 hours before he was killed. And,
It's terrible.
you know, I would rather have him in prison or in Canada than to be dead for these lies, for this deception. And you are a member of Iraq Vets Against the War.
That's correct, ma'am.
And you're on the board, the
I'm
National
on the board of directors.
And I want to say that Iraq Vets Against the War is one of the only large anti-war groups that have endorsed our actions here on Martha's Vineyard. And Matthis, tell us why you came to Martha's Vineyard.
Well, I've been dreaming of protesting with you, Cindy, like I said, since I was in the military. When I heard you were going to be up here and taking this message directly to Obama, I knew it was time to move. The anti-war movement for the last few months has been very hesitant to directly take on Obama and what are now his policies of immoral and illegal occupation. So this is one of the first demonstrations that I've seen take this message directly to Obama and put him in the hot seat. This is where we need to be as a movement. This is where we need to be as IVAW. So I was very honored to be able to come up and offer our endorsement and to stand with you here in Martha's Vineyard because Obama is not a peace president. He is not going to end the war unless we force him.
Well, I think it's going to be really hard for us to get a peace president. Obama is president because Obama is not a peace president. But I want to give you an opportunity. I support the work of IVAW 100%, and they're having a fundraising drive right now. Matthis, I want to give you the opportunity to tell my viewers and my listeners about your fundraising drive. And I would urge anybody who can to send whatever you can to IVAW.
Well, what IVAW is doing right now is we're working on building an army of sustainers. We're trying to sign up people who are willing to give small amounts each month, $10, $15 over a longer period of time. We're trying to build our organizing in a sustainable manner, and part of that is not waiting for large injections of cash, but but building a base that's willing to sustain and not just give us money, but literally buy into the mission of IVAW and support us. So we are trying to sign up people online. We're sending around these little cards, $10, $15 a month over 1 year. Does far more for our organizing abilities than single checks for very large amounts, which we do appreciate.
Right, and what's your website?
Our website is ivaw.org. There are links to donate on the site, and you can sign up to be a sustainer through there. Again, we're encouraging people, rather than giving us large sums of money in chunks, to break that up over a longer period of time so we can organize in a sustainable economic way.
And we've had anti-war groups made up of mostly military veterans for peace, Vietnam vets against the war, who are still working. They've been working, now for decades. And the veterans' voice is a very important voice that needs to be heard. So I encourage the viewers and listeners to go and donate whatever you can. And that, like Matthis said, if we get a bunch of people donating a small amount, then there's not so much burden on a single person, or the large donors that we all know in the movement. We're losing them because of the economy. So Matthis, thank you so much for coming to Martha's Vineyard to stand here with me. Thank you, IVAW, for supporting this action, and it was great to meet you and have you on the soapbox.
You too, Cindy. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.